What is Mike McDaniel like?
What is Mike McDaniel like? At least in these press conferences, he's exactly what I want an offensive coach to be like. He's not defensive. You can ask him, why did this happen? Why didn't this happen? He is calm. He's like a teacher. He wants to explain. He doesn't take pointed questions personally. He looks at them as an opportunity to get you on his side. He's like Robert Saleh in that way. He's very good with people. He's gets you on his side quickly. Really smart. You learn from him. It's like you start to feel like a student. It's nice.
Did you have positive feelings about him?
Yeah, absolutely. He keeps it light in press conferences. He cracks jokes. You know how some coordinators just get defensive all the time? Well, he's not like that at all. He's not like that at all. Which is nice.
Okay. I'm going to ask you another thing. What does he look like in person?
He looks like the captain of the chess team. He's about 5'5". He's got a comb over. He's little. He doesn't look like he coaches or plays football. He even has a slight stutter. Slight. He just doesn't come across as the big, like Robert Saleh is 6'4", and he lifts weights and he's 240 pounds. He's not that kind of a guy, but he has this like confidence that's really endearing. He'll have like gold rim glasses. He looks like he's, I don't know, like he just won the video game competition and he won $1 million or something. He's very confident in himself, but it's unclear where the confidence comes from. He's a little squirrely, but he's really smart, clearly. And he seems like he has a very clear idea of how he wants to run a team.
When he went to Miami, I haven't said this before. I've never met him, but I had the idea that the way you described his looks, that professional football players would not take him seriously as a head coach because, as you say, it's like the captain of the chess team. So that's something he had to overcome. Believe me, in that physical world, he had to overcome his appearance. But he apparently did it no sweat.
Well, it's something that I think he's been doing for a long time. He knows how he comes across. And so that's why he has this whole personality of self-deprecating. He is got a lot of humor. He doesn't take it. He probably expects people to look at him a certain way, and he understands it, and he diffuses it with humor. And he's really easy to like. And I think from players' perspective, instead of having a guy who looks the part and yells and is like an old school coach, this guy is a new school coach. He's your friend. He's your biggest cheerleader. And he's like the guy, he's like your tutor. Like he's giving you the answers to the test. And you feel like, hey, man, I want this guy to be my friend. Yeah, he's a little strange. He doesn't really look like a popular kid, but he's going to get me an A in the class. And I'm bringing him to my party, and he's cool because he can hang. He just seems like the guy you wouldn't expect to be friends with the popular kids, but is friends with the popular kids. Do you know that guy?
Yes.
Yes.
The way you describe his personality, not his appearance, is Dusty Baker.
Interesting.
Yes, Dusty, of course, Dusty was an athlete.
Yes.
But Dusty, friends with the players, positive, helped you get an A on. Do you know what Dusty would do sometimes?
What?
If he had a player who was slumping and he knew the player's favorite dessert, I would see him do it. He'd come into the clubhouse and say, here's eat this dessert.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got to have a positive mindset.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, that's interesting. He's the exact opposite of Kyle Shanahan, and yet they were joined at the hip for 20 years.
Give me 2 ways that they're the exact opposite.
Kyle Shanahan is really tall. He's like the face man of a group. And it's like, he's like Mike McDaniel's like Cyrano de Bergerac. You know, he's the guy that he's like the great poet, but he can't actually approach it. But it's almost like the Shanahans are like, look, Mike, look at you. You're never going to make it in this industry. But if you stick with Kyle and just you're his right-hand man, you can go far. So Kyle has none of the social graces that Mike McDaniel has. He says constantly. He gets defensive. He doesn't like explaining himself if you're not praising him. I mean, he really has like he does a lot of things that adolescents would do that you would think, well, he'll grow out of that socially. A little rough around the edges. Mike McDaniel isn't like that at all.
Okay. I'm glad we did this little interlude. I always like to talk about personalities and to also compare personalities.
Mike McDaniel has a sense of humor, and he's positive. Kyle Shanahan doesn't have a sense of he wants to think he has a sense of humor, but he's not really funny, and he's relentlessly negative. He even says it like when he goes and picks out a new house with his wife, she'll like it. She'll say, "What do you think?" He'll say all the things he doesn't like, and she'll be crying. He's like, "Well, what? That's how I do it. I have to lay out all the things I don't like about something first before I like it." So he's constantly focused on why things aren't good enough, which is, I think, tiring. It's exhausting.
It's tiring, yeah.
It's exhausting. And he has no really good relationships with any quarterback he's ever worked with. Ever. Even him and Jimmy.
I think he and Jimmy love each other.
Yeah, no, they have a great, yeah. And so did Robert Griffin and Matt Ryan and all of them, right?
Yeah. I mean, Jimmy, they caught him saying that stuff, right? About your MF and plays, and then they tried to
suck, man.
Your plays suck, and then those two tried to make light of it. But you know what? I think that's the truth. He didn't slip. They probably don't get on.
No, none of his former quarterbacks have anything nice to say about him. So maybe Bill Walsh was negative too, but I think probably Steve and Joe would have nice things to say about him.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you that Joe, I don't believe even to this day likes George Seifert because George Seifert got rid of him. And I do know that Bill would call plays. This I know because one of the offensive linemen, Keith Von Horst, rest in peace. What a wonderful guy. He was. I used to love to talk to him, and he said sometimes they'd be in the huddle, and Joe would come in. He says, "You're not going to believe this shit that Bill just called." And what's more, I told Bill that well after they had all retired, and you know what? Bill laughed his ass off. He could imagine he called shitty plays too.